have a confession to make. I love a nice, juicy, medium rare steak sometimes, and sometimes I crave a big fat hamburger with cheese and tomatoes and pickles and onions and all the things. And when I have those cravings, I indulge in them and I don't feel guilty about it and still consider it part of my healthy diet. And here's why. Whenever I eat beef now, I eat grass-fed beef. So let's talk about what that means and why that is a healthier option than the traditional grain-fed beef. When I first heard the term grass-fed a few years ago, I didn't really understand it, and I thought, this is redundant. All cows eat grass, of course beef is grass-fed. Was surprised to learn that that's actually not the case. So let's get into that, and what is this grass-fed beef and why is it better for you? I'm Dr. Katrina Coulter, and I'm an infectious disease expert, and I make educational health videos. So grass-fed beef is cattle that is raised its entire life on grass. There are some different nuances to this term, meaning that it may be fed some grain during the last 1 to 3 months of its life, or it may be completely fed only grass. Now, this is in stark contrast to the majority of the beef that we're getting from our grocery stores here in the United States. So what you may not realize is that when you're buying beef from the grocery store, it is grain-fed for the majority of its life. So what happens is when these cattle are weaned at usually ages 4 to 6 months, sometimes younger, they are then shipped off to a concentrated animal feeding operation, also known as a CAFO, CAFO, or more traditionally we called them feedlots. And there, these animals are fed a non-traditional diet for a cow. So they're fed mostly corn and whole grains. A cow naturally would eat grasses and forbs and would eat some cereal grains, but not really in their vegetative state when they actually produce grains. They would eat them younger. So what is happening is much like what we're doing to ourselves as humans. So we're introducing into our food system a lot of excess corn in the form of high-fructose corn syrup or corn syrup, and we're putting that into ultra-processed foods. And as adults in the United States, we're getting about 60 to 65% of our daily calories from these ultra-processed foods, and they're making us overweight and rapidly increasing our chronic diseases, things like diabetes, metabolic syndrome, autoimmune diseases, cancers, Alzheimer's disease. So we're seeing exponential growth of these type of diseases, and it's because we're eating so much corn sugar and we're producing an excess of it here in the US. So we're shoveling it into the diet. In the same vein, we are doing that to our cattle. So instead of letting them eat their natural diet of grass and forbs, we are shoveling corn into their mouths, and we're making them fat and unhealthy, and then we are eating that meat and it's making us unhealthy. So the big thing to take away today is that grass-fed cattle are much healthier than their grain-fed counterparts. So you might start seeing this label grass-fed or hearing it more and more. And let's get into the top 5 health differences between grass-fed and grain-fed cattle and why you want to choose grass-fed cattle whenever you choose to eat red meat. So number 1 reason, grass-fed cattle have increased levels of omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids. So more omega-3 fatty acids in the grass-fed cows compared to the grain-fed cows. What does this mean is that you have less omega-6 fatty acids. So the omega-3 to the omega-6 fatty acid profile is more favorable in the cows that eat grass their whole lives, and this conveys a health benefit to you because omega-3s are involved in anti-inflammatory mechanisms in your body, and it's overall much healthier for your cardiovascular health. So you may have heard that you want to get more omega-3s. You get these from seeds, you can get them from salmon, and now I want you to know you can get them from grass-fed cattle. So that's number one, more omega-3s. Number two is the grass-fed cattle have higher concentration of antioxidants than their grain-fed counterparts. So this means that they've got more vitamin E, they've got more polyphenols, they've got more carotenoids, and these compounds search around for free radicals and cancer-causing agents and other problematic compounds in your body that cause inflammation. So we've got increased concentrations of antioxidants when the cows are happy and they get to grow up all on grass, and they're not unhealthy and being fed their unnatural diet of corn. Number three, these cows that are growing up on grass also have micronutrients in their meat. And so these are things like selenium, iron, and zinc. And this is especially important because as we continue our industrial agricultural practices where we till the soil every year and we deplete it every year and have to replace nutrients with fertilizers, we are seeing a decrease in micronutrients in our plants and vegetables. So a carrot that was grown even 50 or 60 years ago has less micronutrients than a carrot that is grown using modern day practices. So if you can supplement these with other whole foods, such as your grass-fed red meat, then you don't need to take so many vitamins and other exogenous supplements. So that's number three, increased micronutrients. Number four, grass-fed cows are healthier. They move around. They're not hanging out all squished into a concentrated animal feeding operation where they're wading around in their own waste, feces, and urine. And so they have a decreased total fat content. So these aren't going to be a totally fatty steak or hamburger. They're going to have less fat because they're fed a more natural diet of grass. So number four, decreased total fat content in your grass-fed beef. So if you are trying not to take in more fat into your diet, especially animal fat, you're going to want to choose grass-fed beef over grain-fed beef. Number five, these cattle have increased levels of cholesterol neutral stearic acid. So they have a total improved fatty acid profile when they grow up on their natural diet of grass. And they convey that to you in the meat. So there you go. 5 reasons why you should be eating grass-fed beef instead of grain-fed beef, or it's traditionally just advertised as beef. So you're going to want to look for that label that says grass-fed, or even better, you're going to want to get it directly from the rancher or farmer that raises it, because then you're going to know this animal came straight off the farm. It was eating grass, living its best life, moving around before it came onto your plate. So just a few other things to think about is animals that go to concentrated feeding operations also have increased use of antibiotics because these conditions are unsanitary. The animals are concentrated in together, so they get sick frequently. So they get a regular diet of antibiotics to try to prevent that. Also, we know that feeding antibiotics to animals makes them get fat quicker. And so the practice of feeding antibiotics to these animals is common to try to get them up to a nice fat butcher weight. So then the animal feeding operation can harvest more quickly. That also leads to increased multi-drug antibiotic resistant organisms. And so that keeps somebody like me in business as an infectious disease expert, because we're seeing more and more multi-drug resistant organisms. And some of that is coming from our agricultural, specifically our animal raising practices. These animals that are in a feedlot or CAFO also frequently get hormones to make them fatter quicker, making them unhealthy for us. And they have decreased muscle tone compared to their grass-fed counterparts that get to wander around the field. So hopefully you now understand the difference between grass-fed and grain-fed beef. So my request of you now is to seek out grass-fed beef. It's healthier for our planet because those animals are spread out. They're stimulating the grass to grow. That grass is sequestering carbon. It's healthier for us as a people, and it helps support your local farmer if you buy directly from the farmer. If this is helpful, I would love for you to subscribe to this channel, and I will have plenty more videos coming your way about making good whole food health choices.